Hello, YouTubers and all those happen to watch. Hope you're all doing quite well. So, ended up picking up Destiny the Taken King. This is something I was looking forward to when it was announced and as well as it coming out. There's a lot of revisions, a lot of fixes for the core game as well as the previous expansions prior. And it just has a lot of things going right for it. A lot of folks are probably bitching about the original core game for Destiny is practically addressed in this. Now, the game itself, if you have not played it before, is a mixture between Phantasy Star Online meets a Twitch shooter like Halo. That's basically what it's like. It's a hybrid, where it settles into itself into being a unique game, I think, versus other games of the FPS genre. I mean, there's a few others kind of like it, but not quite as, I would say, smooth as it is. Now, as it is as a game, mechanics and all that, it's fine. It plays fine. A lot of people will probably say, yeah, well, the controls and everything were fine, but the game itself sucks. You know, you're going to hear that very commonly. It's just because they didn't like the fact that the game involved RNG to get guns. They just wanted instant gratification out of the game. And it's one of those kind of games where you're either going to be very lucky and get plenty of weapons to find along the way and level and play with, or you're just not, and you're going to have a miserable time because that experience, unfortunately, is not rolling in your favor. It's a slot machine, if anything else. It's a typical practice most companies do nowadays, these sort of games. Anyway, so this is sort of an open opinion when it comes to the game itself, the expansion. Now, I'll just give you a little foreground of how Destiny is. If you never played it in your life, that's basically the premise. Is it's Phantasy Star meets Halo, FPS shooter. That's all you need to know. It's fully online, and that's not bad because, you know, Phantasy Star Online was online, and that was a great game. So, this one right here, it had a lot of core problems, as I was saying before. It had so many issues with it. It wasn't quite the caliber that it was promised. It was missing a solid story that had, you know, structure to its substance. It was a lot of plot holes. I mean, a lot of plot holes. And I'm talking about time travel and all this shit, but it was just a lot of plot holes that didn't quite add up. The story they were trying to tell was very vague, and they said, oh yeah, Grimoire cards, go read those. Like, when you're playing a video game and you want to be immersed into an experience, you want the story to be right there and then there, not have to stop, pause what you're doing, get your fucking phone out, go on the computer, just look for a storyline. That's where a lot of people are getting kind of cranky about, and I understand that too. Another aspect was Crucible still kind of is sort of a mixture of one-sided gameplay. Some people are like, well, I'm this class and I do pretty good. Well, that's cool. You're a very experienced player. I would clap for you right now, but I'm holding a game case in my hand, so I can't do that. So, rain check on that. But anyway, so you got the Crucible, which is a PvP kind of Halo-ish kind of combat scenario, where your abilities or your powers play a part in that. Now, you're playing, and then guns also play a crucial part in this too, because some of them have perks and abilities that can be a little bit unfair, I guess, in that long run. Of course, now, when the Taken King came out, they nerfed a couple guns that were causing quite a ruckus. Like the Galahorn, which was in the PvE content, you know, was always recommended. A lot of people getting segregated out of raids or strikes because they didn't simply have a rocket launcher. This is one of the problems anyway. It wasn't, you know, everyone was being jerks about it. It was just a good chunk, at least, of raid leaders were doing that. The second thing was the Thorn for PvP, and a few other guns were always problem childs. They were pretty much shooting like sniper rifles and practically poison killing people along the way. I mean, it's still kind of a problem, but it's not as bad anymore. It's like the Thorn isn't really as potent as it used to be, at least with Crucible. PvE content-wise, it's actually pretty decent still, but it's outdated. Pardon me. So, then you go into the story itself for the Taken King. It's just, off the gate, you're greeted to a very decent story. Then it grows and grows and grows. You actually have characters that show signs of life and all that. It's good. I'm personally not a big fan of the ghost that follows you around, which was nicknamed the Dinklebot, but originally Dinklebot was voiced over by Peter Dinklage. They changed the guy over who did the voice actor for Nathan Drake. And so then basically they used him, and then they just went along the bat and just like, oh, yes, Nathan Drake, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much made him this really, really flamboyant ghost, which is, again, I got nothing against anyone who's flamboyant. It's just sort of like the robot kind of rubs me off the wrong way. It's just, it's annoying. So, they had to adjust or address the fact that Dinklage couldn't quite voice act the guy, so then they they pretty much switched him over. So that's one of the things they changed, so they can actually have a dependent voice actor they can use for the game. Next, they actually went along and added the story I was saying before. About it was just really a lot more improved than the previous 2 expansions in the core game combined. It actually tells a pretty good story. A lot of the missions feel a little bit fresh for each time you do them. They have different objectives, not the same old thing all the time. Like, they change the variations between what you got to do. Like, for example, you go stealth, you sneak around, you got to... what was one of the other ones? You got to do some parkour a little bit and jump across, get across chasms and everything. They changed it up so it's for the better. The boss battles feel a little bit more fresh, where you're more active than not. Like the Sunless Cell is pretty cool. The strike mission, actually, you just sit around in the dark and you basically just hop around and do so. The next thing is what else? Oh yes, the boss itself, or the Oryx character, which for the strike mission is King's Fall. It's basically a strike mission that's a little bit longer than your typical strike for most of the game. Well, at least most of the expansions in the core game itself. I have yet to finish it personally, so I can't give you, I say, oh yeah, it's the greatest thing I ever had. But I can definitely say so far what I've played of the raid, it's actually pretty cool. They had these jumping puzzles, the jumping, and a lot of puzzle-based mechanics where you have to be very active to win and do all that stuff. Now, I know this is, of course, very dry what I'm talking about here, but I'm trying not to be very descriptive when it comes to the storyline here, but I'm just going to say it's, so far, it all feels like a good add-on, where I so far feel like I got my money's worth, somewhat. There's plenty to do, there's a lot more quests, so they changed the quest system around the game from an old bounty system to, you don't have to go back to the tower to turn in your bounties, you can just go off and, have a ball. So it's definitely worth at least $20. The $40 they're charging is kind of steep. What they're doing is they're trying to give you the core game plus the expansion, which the expansion itself is worth $20. But they basically said, hey, we're going to give you the core game with this and the Taken King, which again, that's how they're able to pull $40 out of you, for at least with the expansion itself. But yeah, it's actually a pretty good expansion. I would recommend it if you want to play something new. Do not get the core game and then just the Taken King. I would say get the Legendary Edition if you've never played the game in your life. It includes everything involved. Yes, it's $60, sure, but it'll save you a lot of money in the long run, at least with all the content that's involved with the game, so you're not missing anything. You can pretty much catch up pretty fast because they took off the light leveling system thing. Light is only used for boosting up your attack and your defense. That's about it. So yeah, so far I recommend it, and take it easy.